welcome to Detangle, where we untangle the complexities of life one conversation at a time. I'm your host, Dr. Kinjal Goel, a psychologist and a writer. Today we have with us Mr. Raghav Sachar, somebody I have recently discovered, and oh my god, am I bowled over. He has been the cultural ambassador for India as a musician many times. He plays more instruments than I can count on my fingertips. There is so much I can say about him, but I don't think I can do justice. Let me just welcome him. Welcome, Mr. Raghav. I'm so glad you're on Detangle with me today.
Thank you so much, Kinjalji. What a pleasure to be with you. Thank you so much.
So, Mr. Raghav, tell me something about yourself. How would you introduce yourself to my audience in two lines?
I think the one thing that I can say is music is in my DNA, and that's what basically I'm eating, drinking, sleeping. Pretty much everything is music for me.
Lovely. So let's get started. Tell us about your journey. Were you always so tuned into music as a child, or were you following different dreams when you were younger?
No, I've always been into music. It was something that kind of came very naturally to me. I was just 4 years old when I saw my father play harmonica to
Hmm.
my mother, and we don't come from a musical background as such. My father is a retired Director General of Police. He's also a Sena Medal ex-army officer. He took early retirement and joined IPS. So he was playing the harmonica, and he was playing the song called "Hai Apna Dil To Awara" to my mother, and I took it from him and I played it back to him
Oh, wow.
at that age. And so harmonica is a very good instrument in case you ever want to kind of find out if there is anybody who's inclined towards music from pitch perspective,
Hmm.
from rhythm perspective, because it's all in your mouth, so you can't actually teach this instrument to anyone. It's a self-taught instrument. It has to be. So this is a great instrument to kind of pick up, or you hand over these instruments to kids and stuff to see whether they are inclined or not, and they kind of try and make sense of the instrument. So I started like that, and then at that time there was this um, program called Chitrahar that used to come.
Right.
So I would hear any song that would play on Chitrahar, I would be able to play it back. So that basically got my parents really excited, and they thought that this is a very interesting talent. And then I tried my hands on various different instruments. And as I tried my hands on different instruments, they also very naturally started playing. And I didn't have to kind of make too much effort to understand an instrument, or before I could execute playing it. And it's still the same. Whenever I travel internationally or anything,
Hmm.
I just have a tendency of picking up instruments very quickly. So that's, I think, definitely a God gift, and that's how it all began.
Wow. So, what I'm hearing right now is when you say music is in your DNA, there is also something else in your DNA which makes you successful, and that is discipline. From a life
Yeah,
and service that you get from your father, I'm sure there's a lot of discipline in your field as well.
absolutely. So I'm a very big fan of order. I love
Hmm.
being, I love, and I'm very proud that I'm very, very punctual. I'm very particular about my timing, and I think that all has come because of the upbringing as well, because of army, because of that police
True.
kind of strict, weightage towards valuing time and everybody's time. That has really, really helped me, and also it was reiterated when I did my bachelor's of music in Australia.
Hmm.
Of course, internationally, everybody takes time very, very seriously. In our industry, largely time is kind of unfortunately not given too much value.
I
Uh,
agree.
and that is something that kind of should change, and I hope it changes. But I mean, I have been in the industry for a while. People who want to be punctual are punctual. People who don't want to be punctual, they can kind of manage by not being punctual also, and it's kind of it's not frowned upon. Internationally, you can't get away without being punctual and being and value everybody's time equally, no matter what position you're at. So I think discipline is the key aspect of what I do, and that's the reason I'm able to do multiple things. Because if I didn't have that discipline, then I would be wasting my time on a lot of other, basically just trying to get things in order.
True. So, time management is one skill that you have mastered along with the others because it helps you keep, everything sane around you.
Yes, absolutely. And gives me time to spend with my family equally, and the work-life balance is maintained. And there are so many things that kind of fall in line just by just pure time management.
I completely agree. But how many hours a day do you spend sharpening all these skills that you have?
So, this used to be a very conscious effort while I was studying. When I did my bachelor's of music
Hmm.
and when I was studying in school and stuff, I had a lot more time at hand. And of course, the only thing I had to do at that time was to practice. And I would do hours and hours and hours and hours of practicing. And I was very determined and very dedicated towards that. Um, of course, as life passes, and you have other responsibilities that take over. You have kids, you have meetings, you have so many other things that are happening. Time gets limited. So pure practicing of instruments of like the way I used to, where I would sit down and practice scales, I would sit down and practice breathing techniques. All of that, of course, has no room. Unfortunately, I don't have the time only to do that. But the good thing is that because put myself so deeply into music, and there is so much content that I have to keep creating,
So you're
which
practicing this.
so basically whether I'm taking out time to practice or whether I'm just executing, I am playing the instrument very often, and all
Right.
instruments very often. And it's working kind of in a cyclic way for me, which is good because I have to create content. To create content, I have to play, and to play, and so on and so forth. So it's this is a like a good cycle that's being created, which is giving me the opportunity to keep playing my instruments far more than what I would usually.
Right. Do you also believe in the 10,000-hour rule that once you get there, once you've practiced for a certain amount of time, you will get better?
Absolutely. So see, this basically goes. I do teach as well. I have a school of music as well. So this is a very very clear cut fact of life that if you put in effort and time into one particular skill, and you continuously keep doing that relentlessly, consistently, you
Hmm.
are going to get better at it and at a very good pace because the learning curve keeps changing. You might
True.
start off slow and then suddenly midway you might pick up very well, or it might be the other way around that generally picked up very quickly and it might slow down in the middle somewhere. So it has a way of kind of balancing itself out. But any form of art, with discipline and consistency, if you're after it, at it,
Hmm.
you are going to excel in it for sure.
Fantastic. Mr. Raghav, you've also aced the social media game. That's how I found you. I mean, once I started listening to you, I couldn't stop. I was listening to you on loop. But was this something that you learned, or did it come naturally to you to put yourself out there on social media to, kind of garner an audience there?
Actually, it's been a very difficult task to do this. And when I came into the industry, it was 2003. At that time,
Hmm.
of course, no social media existed. We were known because of I was MTV Artist of the Month of or Channel V or one of these things was going on. So at that time, when we are any which ways catering to an urban audience here, but
Correct.
if like a security guard is able to recognize you or a rickshaw wala knows who you are, then you would kind of feel that okay, I am penetrating into the masses,
Hmm.
which happened when I had initially come into the scene with all of these channels, which were very generous at that time towards music and musicians, and we would get a lot of weightage on these channels, and that is how we would make our bread and butter because that fame would give us concerts and so on and so forth. Of course, all of that is long gone. And social media came into the scene, and I tried to make it on social media for the longest time, and nothing happened.
Really?
Uh, I mean, of course, as everybody has been, I've been on social media since the inception of social media, with Facebook and Instagram stuff. So I have been on Instagram since 2012, and
Hmm.
I actually started seeing some results in 2022.
Wow, that's 10 years. That's a
So
whole
of
decade.
yeah, so entire decade, I kept trying my level best to understand what people want, how to get them to understand what I'm doing, so on and so forth. but it did not kind of strike a chord at all. Not that it was pathetic, but it was not where we are at today. The maximum that I reached before things started moving in a very quick progression was 160,000 followers, which were also people who kind of might have kind of followed me, for years and stuff like that, and eventually landed themselves on social media and then found me. The die hard core fans that have been there for years.
Right.
And then, of course, I understood what exactly the audience wanted, and they wanted, and how to execute this and how to give it to them what they want. So I generally function in such a manner that I personally do not like waiting for somebody else to do a job for me, and that impatience, I would say, has been a very key motivator for me to kind of go and pick up things on my own. So to give you an idea, I was essentially only a musical person. I would only play multiple instruments.
Right.
So that was something that came very naturally to me. And instruments are like an extension of me. I can kind of feel them. I can breathe them. They work like an extension of me. So then when I had to create music, I had to compose music. I had to wait for a composer to come and compose music, which I didn't like. So I started composing on my own. Then at
Wow, I
this
like this. This impatience works.
Impatience works, yeah, absolutely, and has worked wonders for me. Same thing happened for me to become a singer. So I had to wait for singers to come. So if you see
Hmm.
my second album was called 24 Carat, and that basically had all my singer friends to come and sing, like Kailash Kher, Kunal Ganjawala, Sunidhi Chauhan, so many of other friends that have been there to come on and sing. Now I was like, dude, I can't keep waiting for them, and everybody else is so busy. I'll start singing myself. That's how I became a singer. I even became a female vocalist in the middle, where there was a film that I was doing called 123, and at
Hmm.
about 3 o'clock in the morning, the director said, we want a female part in this, and we are shooting at 6 in the morning. So I went into falsetto and I made a female part, and it kind of went through. By the time we were done with the shoot, I thought I'll call Sunidhi to come and change the parts. But they said that they liked what they had heard and who the singer is. And I said, it's me. And they
Oh
said,
my
oh my
God.
God. So these are just a few things that I kind of started happening. I didn't want to wait for people to come and shoot my music videos, so I got into camera. I got into flying the drones. I got into understanding how cameras work, understanding what aperture is, what cinematic everything is. So I put myself, and I, instead of into people getting, investing into hiring people to do the job, I invested into the equipment and bought a
Wow.
lot of equipment. And I, so on and so forth. So I became a website designer. I started coding to create an app for myself. So generally, I have a tendency of not waiting for anything, which has really helped me, I feel, overall. And I think that's something that's the driving force within me.
So I'm getting so many little masterclass tips from here when you say that consistency is everything in practice. Consistency also helped you in social media because you kept at it for a decade till
Yeah.
something happened.
Yes.
Patience usually is a virtue, but in your case, not having patience turned out better. I also
Yes.
see this basic raw IQ which you have just harnessed and put to use. Once you can read, write, understand, comprehend, you've just not kept any limits, no boundaries. You've jumped in, tried everything, aced it, and moved on. How fantastic.
Thank you so much. When you put it like that, it sounds very nice.
No, I see it like that. I'm hearing it all at once. So that's what comes back to me. So it's a very personal journey for me as well. When I started my podcast, I'm a psychologist by profession. I'm a writer.
Ji.
My education is completely different, but I didn't have the patience to get somebody to edit my audio, to record my audio. So
Yeah.
I'm alone. I'm the only team I have, and it's
Great.
working.
That's how it should be.
And fantastic. So kindred spirits.
Yeah.
So tell me, Mr. Raghav, I have this feeling that artists are very sensitive people. Most of the artists that I have met, they feel deeply, they express deeply.
Hmm.
And when you're facing a stressful time, it definitely impacts your art. But
Yep.
sometimes you have to deal with a low time, but you still have to put your best foot forward and perform for something that you've signed up.
Yeah.
So how do you mitigate this? How do you deal with it?
See, I think compartmentalizing is very important.
Hmm.
And that is something that should come, again, that is something that will come with discipline. Because uh, you cannot let one emotion, although I'm excessively emotional, I can cry at like a drop of the hat. I don't watch movies because I get very emotional, and then I was like, I don't want to keep crying and seeing. So मेरे को तो बहुत ही रोना आता है पिक्चरें देख के, कोई सिचुएशन देख के. If I hear something has happened with somebody, I'll again, I'm very very easy to kind of uh, get into that situation where I start feeling very deeply for anybody for that matter. Of course, people who are known to me, I feel far more, goes without
True.
saying. But having said that, compartmentalizing is very important because if suppose there is a commitment that you've already taken, and
Hmm.
there is a situation that has happened which is not physically stopping you from completing that, uh, what do you call it, completing that job, whatever job has been taken, because that other person has his own life, has decided to have you perform for them, or done all the efforts, everything that you can think of to make sure that that particular event for that particular person goes off flawlessly. So that should be the only point of uh, concern for an artist at that particular time. And this is again something that is easier said than done. But I feel that uh, discipline is something that works very well in this form as well, because it you kind of shut off, you have to shut off yourself from everything else when you're on stage. When I'm performing, for example, when I'm doing these fashion shows and stuff, and I'm
Hmm.
walking the ramp, I'm interacting with the models, I'm playing the instruments, I'm singing, I have to be in pitch, I have to do so many things simultaneously that not a single thought besides what I'm doing at that time can enter my mind, because because the focus levels have to be at such great levels. Even for concerts, adrenaline kind of helps you achieve that by not letting anything else come to mind. So again, having an emotional situation at that time, of course, it's a very difficult task to control, and you might burst out while singing a song, while singing, you might, something like that might happen. But uh, that does not mean that, for whatever has happened, it doesn't mean that you can or should take the other person's life or uh, generosity, or whatever that person has done for you, can't put that on stake. So that is compartmentalizing. So you do your job, you finish it off, do what you have to do after that, feel how you have to do after that. It's easier said than done, as I mentioned earlier. It's not that easy.
True. This also brings back memories of a conversation I had with Javed Akhtar Saab on the same podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I see the same thing when you're saying that, somebody has paid for it, somebody has invested their time in it,
Ji,
somebody is expecting you to perform. So when
ji,
Javed Saab said that, always have the deepest respect for your readers and for your audience, which is what you have.
ji,
If you are respecting your host, if you're respecting, like you said, punctuality is basically respecting somebody else's time.
correct.
So this deep respect takes you a longer way than momentary, interactions with your own emotions. So this is beautiful.
Absolutely.
Personally speaking, when I listen to something very sad, especially tunes, it may or may not have lyrics, it can move me very deeply. Does
Ji,
it happen to you if you are playing something intensely sad? Do you feel that impact just as much as your audience?
absolutely. In fact, instruments, because if you have seen the way the songs that I'm choosing, and
Hmm.
if whatever the songs are, you should also try and see the instrument that I'm choosing with the song. Now the song can be played, I play 41 instruments, I can play that song 41 different ways. Why would I choose that one particular instrument with that particular song? That is where the sensibility or the expression, like every instrument has a different expression completely. And the beauty is that I have the control on how I want to express on every instrument. So, how, for example, if I perform like a kalank track,
Hmm.
it is such a beautiful melody. But if I played that melody on a saxophone, it will have a different appeal altogether. As soon as I change that to a clarinet or a tenor recorder, it will totally have a different feel.
True.
So, how to marry a melody with the instrument is another form of art. Ki, this is a song, this will sound very good on a mandolin, for example. For example, Tujhe Dekha To Ye Jana Sanam is played on the mandolin, and I also did that reel on the mandolin. But if I actually play that on a flute, the melody is not going to change, but just the vibe of the song will completely differ and
Oh,
change.
yes. Yes.
So nothing against it, but you know, to choose the right instrument uh, and to marry it with the song goes a long way toward to kind of emotionally attach other people to that particular song. That's what happens. So, and this is all happening on a very subconscious level, because
Hmm.
I have chosen an instrument which I feel enhances the song more than what the song the probably the vocals could, or more than what another instrument could, and that has subconsciously been done already. And when you hear it, you're like, अरे यार ये तो कितना अच्छा sound कर रहा है इस instrument पे, and then you kind of get attached to it
True.
more. You will get attached more to that song. To give you an idea, Tu Mile Dil Khile. Now, Tu Mile Dil Khile is such a beautiful song that I have performed it on various instruments. Now, if I actually, and in fact, I should do that as I'm talking to you. This idea just struck me that since I have done this song on some 7, 8 different instruments, I should probably create a highlight
Hmm.
of Tu Mile Dil Khile, highlight on different instruments.
Of
And
course,
it
it's such
sounds
an intense one.
Yeah, and it sounds completely different on a santoor, different on a sax, different on a flute, different on a piccolo, different on a harmonica, and you can keep going on and on. And I have done this song over, I think, about 7, 8, 10 instruments already. So it just goes to show that how one same song sounds so different on different instruments.
So what we see as coming naturally to somebody is actually full of intent. As a musician, you have so much intent, you have so much focus on what you're doing, how you're doing, when you're doing, what you're picking for it. And what we see
Absolutely.
as an audience is the culminative effect, the cumulative effect, the whole
Yes,
joy of just the tune.
absolutely. So everything has been from my social media perspective, I'm kind of trying to take care of each and every aspect that, clothing as well as styling, as well
Hmm.
as intros, outros, where to put fade ins, where not to put fade outs, what kind of color correction should be there, what kind of skin tone do we need to maintain, hair should be a particular way, accessories should be in such a way that it goes. For example, if I'm wearing, I did a Cars tune on a santoor wearing a sleeveless ganji with a skull kind of a necklace. So
Hmm.
that entire outlook with the santoor has never been seen only.
Yeah,
Sant-
it's
so
different.
and on top of that, if you're doing a theme which is so beautiful, which is the Kars theme, but never been played on the santoor before, because everybody just tries it on the guitar. I've done it on the guitar multiple times, but just taking it into a different realm along, because it's now you're not only, this is our TV, this is what MTV used to be. This is the MTV channel V for us now, and the beauty is you don't have to wait for a programmer to come and slot you in. You are the programmer. You slot yourself in. You decide what you want to perform. You decide how you want to look. You decide when you want it to be on air, and you do that, and then let the magic happen. And in case you have a marketing team under you, you want to market it, you do that as well. So you basically, in today's day and age, do not need anyone, and then you cross populate it on Facebook, on YouTube shorts and stuff. So this is all data analysis largely that is leading me to do things that I'm doing of late, and then of course give audience more than what they had expected by getting phenomenal artists like Rekha Bhardwaj ma'am, Sunidhi, Sukhvinder ji, Shan, all of them who've been iconic in their in their entire field, and then change that and twist it with the instrumentation. So there is a lot of thought, as you might understand, that has gone into kind of sculpting this entire niche.
It looks so effortless, but there is so much effort behind looking so effortless. I mean, when you describe the necklace that you're wearing in a curse tune, the angst of death, which is in the movie, and
जी,
the beauty of the music, which is playing, that movie was much ahead of its time.
absolutely.
It was, and what you are doing now is bringing us in sync with what happened then. It's just so stunning. I have goosebumps. So tell me, what has been your personal toughest moment in this journey, mentally, physically, any moment which you were like, this is it, it's just too much?
No, so these things do keep, happening, and this place or this industry or generally arts is not for the weak-hearted. It's as simple as that. Because that is one thing that I have to say. Because it is, you have to be okay with rejection to start with. If you're a person who cannot take rejection, you're in the wrong field. Because you cannot. This is such a personal thing. If you put 10 people together and you actually go into their playlist, you will be shocked to see what 10 people like and how differed it is. No matter, even if they are best friends, 10 best friends, but you go to the playlist and you will be shocked to see कि अरे इनमें तो शायद probably एक आध भी गाना common होगा इनका, but the rest of it is pretty different. He likes something else, this guy likes something else, this girl likes something else. So it is a stupid effort to kind of think that ये गाना सबको पसंद आने वाला है, जो मैं कर रहा हूँ वो सबको पसंद आने वाला है. It is never going to be the case. No matter what and how cool you are, how good you become, that is never going to be the case. So what you should try and aim for is majority. How many
Right.
ever people कि भाई चलो 60% को पसंद है, 80% को पसंद है, वो मुझे अपना स्ट्राइक रेट हाई रखना है. That how many ever people can appreciate and would appreciate something that I'm doing, and keep trying and understanding. The comments keep coming, we keep learning from. Can't get deterred by these kind of negative things also that happen. So ups and downs are a very common feature in our profession. I came in with a bang when I came in 2003. I had a fabulous run. I got my first film, which was Kabul Express, which was with the SG, with the Yashraj, which is the biggest company that you could have dreamt of. But
Oh, yes.
after that, I've never ever had the opportunity of working with them ever again. Although it was a super hit track, music, everything. But that's how life is. That is how it's kind of वो ऐसा लगता है. Whenever you start thinking that I have arrived, it's never. Kind of life teaches you very beautifully that calm down, you haven't, and there's far more to go. And so with these things, it's so easy to say now, but they take such a toll on you when you're younger, when you have
Yes.
entered the scene, when you have all this talent behind you, when you have the backing of the education that you have done, and you are just there to conquer everything that you can. And the pure energy at that time is very different than the energy now. Um, because experience was not there, and experience is something, live experience of actually physically going through all of these things yourself teaches you a lot more. And just kind of tells you that you know if and you've seen the highs and the lows. So if when the highs were there, the lows came. The lows were there, the highs came back. So this up down will keep happening for the rest of my life. So even where I am right now, highs lows होते रहेंगे. So उसका कुछ there's nothing that can be done about it. It's just that you have to kind of uh, detach yourself from excessive praise, detach yourself from excessive criticism, and keep doing your job as a very numb thing, and enjoy. The good thing that I can say is that I have never worked a single day of my life. That's the one thing I can tell you, that I have never ever worked in my life. This
How
is
lovely.
all
Because you're
passion.
enjoying it so much.
I'm loving it. I'm happiest being in the studio creating music, entertaining people. I mean, imagine people have to get up in the morning. They are like, they are feeling sad that they have to leave home. They are like in that, oh my God, I'm going to be stuck in traffic. Oh my God, I'm going to have to go and report to my bosses. I have to finish this spreadsheet. I have to do this Excel. All of that. I never have to think about all of that. I'm my own boss. I am very, very disciplined, and I function like that along with my entire office functioning this way. People above me, I'm happy to go according to their time. People at my level and below me have to function according to me and my time. So it's a very clear cut, uh, you know, ecosystem that I have made for myself. Now, how good it is, how bad it is, I don't know. I think I'm enjoying myself, and I think that is what people are able to see online as well.
And you've just brought the whole sense of Zen right into these two statements. You know, when you say that you can feel deeply as an artist and yet be detached, it
Mhm,
says everything. I mean, this is the crux of what I think most artists have to go through:
mhm.
sense of detachment and a deep feeling towards everything because you're so sensitive as an artist.
Ji.
Lovely. So tell me, Mr. Raghav, you've been the cultural ambassador for India. You've been on so many celebrated shows. You've been on Karan Johar's show. You've been on Kapil Sharma show. Everywhere. I mean, I've seen you almost everywhere, sometime or the other. Which
Ji.
has been your most memorable experience?
Um, I think the Commonwealth Games was a very interesting experience because there were so many people who were performing in front of
Hmm.
over 100,000 people. That was
Wow.
amazing. Then I was also the cultural ambassador for the World Economic Forum in Davos. That was
Hmm.
very interesting as well. So I love doing these, you know, going and being, what do you call it, showcased as uh, an Indian in a Western setting purely because I'm playing Western instruments at the end of the day. I'm playing all the instruments that were all invented besides the santoor and a dhol and some four, five other instruments.
Hmm.
Everything that you have seen me do is all different instruments of different parts, different people, different countries, and it's
Correct.
all world music. So for me, saxophones, flutes, handpan, there are so like handpan I just picked up recently, which is Switzerland. I play the bagpipes, which is Scottish. I play the didgeridoo, which is Australian. So I personally love getting newer instruments which are world instruments. So I don't consider myself to just be doing Indian music. Abhi hota gaya hai that you're performing, your large base of audience is Indian.
Right.
That's why you're seeing what I'm doing, and of course those songs are phenomenal. But I'm also continuously doing international content, which happens on Sunday mornings, if you've seen, which is called
Hmm.
Saxy Sundays, which is another tag that we go by on Sundays. Every Sunday morning at 12 o'clock, you will see me do international content.
Oh, lovely. I
Every
should remember that.
Yeah, and every Friday in the afternoon at 12 o'clock, you'll see me do retro content. So we call
Okay.
that Retro Fridays. Now, slowly, I'm even branching out into regional.
Hmm.
So, because we have a lot of requests coming from so many people for regional content. So, we might bifurcate and, kind of diversify into regional content as well. Um, so, having said that, uh, my main point is this entire thing is a wholesome experience. And when you perform uh, these Western instruments in front of an international audience, but representing India, that I really feel very proud about, and I feel I love doing these kind of cultural ambassador shows. I've done a lot of them. I've represented India in Japan, in Germany, in the UK, in Malaysia, in Australia, in a lot of places, and I really enjoy doing these because again, as I mentioned, I love order and I love discipline, and the way that these events are executed,
Hmm.
they are with top-notch protocol, and I have lived my entire life in protocol. So I
Right.
I
So it's like a
I
treat.
I understand this like very well, and people kind of get very hassled with protocols. मेरे को तो जितना आप protocol डाल दो मैं उतना अच्छा हूँ.
How nice. It's so nice to bring those little pieces of your childhood and your personality and your talent and your skill and just, mush it together and make it work.
Right.
Wonderful. So, if there is one thing, just one single thing that you could change about the music industry or social media, what would you change?
I think to start with, if there's anything I would like to change about the music industry, I would like it to be more earnest and
Okay.
more transparent and more welcoming towards newer talent, or you know ego should not be a part of this entire exercise, I feel,
Hmm.
because that kind of creates unnecessary unrest. No two people are going to be the same, of course. And emotions of, something that I might not feel bad about, you might feel bad about. तो वो तो चलेगा ही, होता ही रहेगा. But people at a higher position level, music labels,
Hmm.
people sitting who are governing this, if that kind of, again, everything boils down to discipline, order, punctuality. There is so much that kind of backtracks to all of this, that as soon as you have all of these things in order, na, respect time, um, how do you call it, feeling for another person, uh,
Empathy, kindness, all the
empathy,
softer things,
kindness.
you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
empathy, kindness, everything is so connected to these two things,
Yeah.
discipline and punctuality, that you will not even realize how deep rooted these issues are, and how difficult it is for so many people to kind of get around it. I feel very sad actually for people who have so much talent and so many opportunities, but unfortunately they are not able to you know get get up get up on time, get going. and
Hmm.
and that is what eventually will hold you back, because it kind of, uh, I see, either you're disciplined or you're not disciplined. It's as simple as that. You can't be midway. इसमें कोई बीच का वो नहीं होता कि भाई मैं डिसिप्लिन्ड हूँ, मैं कल डिसिप्लिन नहीं हूँ, वो नहीं होने वाला है. So,
Hmm.
and it then has degrees of discipline, of course, that how disciplined can you actually get with each and everything. And time management se zyada, if there is one thing I have to put maximum amount of weightage to, in this conversation or anybody's conversation, is time management, because it teaches you way too many things. And all of this that we just said, that be conscious of somebody else, be kind to the other person, empathy all of this is connected to time management. Because if you're not respecting that person's time only and making the person wait, or whatever the situation may be, people generally also like कि चलो मेरी 5 बजे की मीटिंग है तो मैं 6 बजे पहुंचूंगा, just to show my weight around,
Yeah, fashionably late.
fashionably late. So that is something that doesn't exist only internationally. It just does
I,
not exist. तो वो यहाँ पर कि मैंने तुम्हें वेट करा देखा, मतलब इट्स एन अनसेड ego trip.
yeah, it's an unsaid soft power which people want to wield.
Yeah, which doesn't, well, I mean, there is no reason, there is absolutely no reason. I don't see an ounce worth of a reason to be doing that.
Mm.
And instead, if there can be delay, I'm not saying that you cannot be delayed, but again, if there is a delay, there is, that you're getting delayed. It's not that the delay is going to happen at the time that you're going to reach. You are delayed, and you're delayed. All you need to do is inform the other person or request the other person, or all of this. See, now this becomes kindness, na?
It's courtesy, it's
It's
kindness, it's very
courtesy,
simple.
kind. तो फिर कि भाई वो तो मेरी वेट करेगा, उसको मेरे से काम है ना, वो मेरी वेट करेगा. That kind
Mm.
of attitude is something that I personally I don't appreciate it also. And whoever has met me, worked with me, singers know this very well. People who kind of know me very well, they know this very well, that अरे अगर हमने इसको टाइम दे दिया और हमें पार्टी भी करनी है, if I have called him for dinner, he'll be here 5 minutes early. So
Mm.
they now operate along around it, because I can't be late. I just can't.
Fantastic. I love this. I'm having so much fun just listening to this. So, when I speak to my podcast guests, Mr. Raghav, I have a very personal question. I ask all of them. Okay, this is my
जी.
favorite question in the podcast. We all have a physical first aid box, right? Some band aids, painkillers for
Mm-hmm.
those little cuts and bruises when we need to take care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But what if you were to have a mental first aid box? Something you could just open after a bad emotional day and feel happy. What would you put in your emotional first aid box?
See, the best thing I can tell you about my work and my life is that uh, I'm always at a meditative state, purely
Mm.
because people who बोलते हैं कि अगर आप बहुत स्ट्रेस ले रहे हो तो आप म्यूजिक इंस्ट्रूमेंट बजाओ, आप मेडिटेशन कर लो. So I am doing that constantly, and I'm not doing one, I'm doing 40 different, along with
Right.
singing, along with composing, and everything is equally interesting for me. So
How nice.
for me, if there is something that is troubling me, luckily, it all kind of settles as soon as I have an instrument in my hand. Uh, but there are a lot of times that I don't feel like doing that also, because this is work. This is actually, at the end of the day, I'm doing this all day long, right? So
Right.
uh, there might be place times when I don't want to do that. So the other thing that immediately takes my attention away is any kind of sport activity. So I was very, again, growing up in the army and police kind of a situation, we've had access to a lot of sporting
Right.
equipments, and that is very highly encouraged. So I love swimming. Swimming is a phenomenal form of meditation for me, because it's absolute quiet and it's orderly, and you're doing laps after lap after lap. While I'm doing that, I'm doing my Hanuman Chalisa, or I'm doing my other pujas that I want to do, and that kind of calms me down. While I am in, I I like to be optimized. That is how I would like to put it. That I like my time to be optimized, instead of sitting and watching something, or going on Instagram and watching reels, or doing
Hmm.
something. Unless it is something that is for my education, I would rather spend my time in finishing off chores while I'm in the car, or probably again doing a little bit of puja. Uh, so swimming being one of them. The other things that I love, absolutely love doing, is playing golf. I'm an
Wow.
ardent golfer, and I have a set of friends who I play with every now and then. So that is therapeutic for me, because you're out in the nature, you're in green grass, you're playing with friends, sitting after that, having a couple of beers, you're chilling out. So all of these things are it's very important to have balance. Work life balance is so important, that if it is missed, then then it can things can get very lopsided very quickly. कि अगर मैं खाली मतलब full day long I would just keep doing music, I don't pay attention to my kids, I don't play golf, I don't go for swimming, I don't go to the gym, I will completely get saturated very quickly. So it's very important both way. So my in my schedule, I have a 6:30 getting up time every day, no matter what happens. I have those 1.5 2 hours of with my kids, to drop them to the bus or whatever, with my dog. So that is a very
Hmm.
wholesome time. I have that 2 hours of dedicated workout, whether it's swimming, 1.5 hours, whether it's gym. Then I have my entire day at the office. And again, by around 6:37 latest, I'm back home. Take the kids to bed, spend time with my wife, and you start with the same process all over again the next day. Of course, within this, then you have travel, then you have everything. So
Of course.
emotionally, so many things that keep happening. Somebody has pissed you off at work, something has
Hmm.
happened in a family setting, somebody has done something to your kid, your child is not well. There are so many other things. So as soon as that stress hits me, I am because of the routine being so strict and particular, I am already I'm already playing an instrument for a reel about 10 minutes down the line with that stress. That
Right. So
has
your buffer
calmed.
is always in place.
That has already calmed me down to whatever extent it could. I'm back into stressing for that one particular thing. Then I've entered a meeting. So if I have again, idle mind is a devil's workshop. अगर मेरे पास इतनी सारी चीजें नहीं होती करने के लिए,
Hmm.
and if I had not compartmentalized everything perfectly, then that would have, you know, it would have taken me deeper into stressing deeply. Not that I don't stress. I'm one of the worst things that I can tell you about myself is that I'm an overthinker,
Hmm.
and I take stress about every damn thing that you can think about. And I
Right.
take
Because if it's
major
not
stress.
orderly, you can't handle the chaos, and life is all about chaos eventually.
Yes. So when this happens, now, of course, as I'm aging, I'm
Hmm.
trying to kind of not, and because I'm also a planner, I like to plan things. So what happens is I automatically start कि भाई ये सिचुएशन है, ये इसका प्लान बी होगा, ये इसका प्लान सी होगा. So imagine so much effort going into everything कि अगर ये नहीं हुआ तो क्या करना है. It's like you're playing chess with every situation. If this move doesn't work, then what is my next move? If this move doesn't work, then what is my next move? So that can consume a lot of your mental peace. But luckily, as I mentioned, that I have to keep shifting things. in my life, चाहे वो mental peace मेरे को थोड़ा disturb भी करेगा आके, somebody else, something else will take my attention away. And luckily, and thank God, it's an instrument or something creative.
Beautiful. Mr. Raghav, before we come to a close and to our closing remarks, do you have any question for me as a psychologist?
I would love to know that since you are meeting so many, people who you are interviewing and so many brilliant minds, a few of them you've told me already. Uh, m- what is your take, or what is that one common thing that you're finding amongst all of these people that you've interviewed that makes them what they are?
I think it's more of grit than anything else.
Hmm.
It's that grit, it's that hard work which people put in. So we see these in biographies, we read a couple of stories, we know the rags to riches stories, but you'll be surprised at how many people did not have their professions when they were younger. They were in
Yeah.
completely different fields.
Hmm.
But once they said, okay, we are going to do this and work hard at it, they all found success. And everybody has one thing to say, that it did not come to them very easily. So
Hmm.
nothing was served on a platter, nothing was inherent. But once they started working hard at it, it became their passion. So they didn't discover their passion, they created it, which is one
Wow.
thing I find common to most guests, which is so inspiring,
Hmm.
that we don't need to tell our children, look for your passion, find your passion. You can also create your passion, work hard towards something and see it bloom,
Correct.
which is wonderful.
Oh, very well said. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Raghav, I have never imagined or fathomed that I would have such a beautiful discussion with you, articulating every thought so intensely with me.
My
Music is
pleasure.
it's so beautiful. I mean, your music is absolutely stunning. I would encourage my entire audience. Please go to Mr. Sachar's page. It is on Instagram at Raghav Sachar, correct?
Ji.
Please find him, listen to him. There is so much depth in every instrument. We struggle to play one, if at all. And here we have an artist playing more than 40 instruments. It is nothing but deep, deep passion and hard work. Mr. Raghav, I have enjoyed this conversation. I've enjoyed your discipline. I can see your past, present, future all coming together so beautifully. Thank
Thank
you
you, man.
so much. I know you've been so busy. You've been traveling, but you've taken the time out today, been on my show. I'm just so honored.
My pleasure, Kinjalji. Thank you so much for lovely words, and yes, keep listening. And there's much more, much more coming up soon.
Well, we shall be waiting. Thank you so much.
All right, take care, ji.